Welcome back to Get a Grip Studios, folks. On today's show, I have Craig Robertson on the Get a Grip on Life podcast. That's right. He's put out a new album. It's called Late Mornings. And I just want to ask him, are you trying to look like Kenny Rogers here, Craig? Come on, man. You look just like him. No, you're a beautiful guy. And I'm going to listen to this on the way home from work today. But hey, thanks for coming on the show, Craig. I really enjoyed talking to you, man. It was a really crazy, wild conversation. We started talking about music. We went into art. We made fun of Drake. And so it's always good when I get to make fun of Drake. So, folks, thanks for listening. Here comes Craig Robertson on the Get a Grip on Life podcast. Welcome to the Get a Grip on Life podcast, Craig Robertson.
Thanks very much, Mike. Thanks for having me. My pleasure.
Yeah. You know what? I love live music.
Yeah, same here.
And I find that, there's not enough of it. So I was in Nashville twice this year. Maybe in the last 12 months anyway. I don't know if it's not twice in 2019, but in the last 12-month period. And I don't know what the main street's called. Have you been there much?
No, I've driven through Nashville. I think it's called Broadway.
Broadway, yes.
Yeah,
Broadway, yeah. So here's what happened to me. So the first time I went to Nashville, it was the CMA Awards, and I was there by accident. Okay, so we're like looking for a hotel room, and you can't get a hotel room in the city.
Yeah.
And so we had to rent it was like $1,000 for one night. I'm like, how the heck did we get into this mess, right? Turns out it's the CMA Awards. And the next time we went, it was like another CMA event. Okay. So I ended up in Nashville twice when there was country music stuff going on.
It's probably crazy.
Yeah, it was insane. But what the people told me is that on Broadview, you can strike sparks basically almost every night of the week and bar hop from live music to live music to live music to live music to live music. And in Toronto, which is a much bigger city, if you want to see live music from multiple venues, you got to get in cabs, and if you're lucky, you'll find it.
Yep. Nashville is a hub for so many musicians, not only in the city, but for musicians around North America, songwriters and people who have, stars in their eyes and want to be a country star go to Nashville.
Any kind of music, really, though.
Yeah.
Except for maybe rap.
Maybe rap, yeah.
But even R&B is big.
R&B, blues,
yeah,
all that kind of stuff. So, Nashville has presented itself as that kind of town, and even though Toronto claims to be the music city of the North, it's not the case, because there are bars closing down. It seems like on a weekly basis, bars that hosted live music all the time. Like the Silver Dollar is a great example. I know the El Macamo is reopening, but for years it's been closed and shut down. And there are fewer places to play. And you make a great point of, like, you take the Beaches Strip, for example, and maybe 20 years ago, there was more music along the strip, and now you've got like a handful. I could count it on one hand of places down there that actually have live music. So you'd have to walk, several blocks to hear live music if you're lucky. And it's a shame, because Toronto was such a great city, it's such a vibrant city, and it's growing. So you would think that there would be more of it, but as the city's growing, it just seems like there's lesser places to play. And for musicians, it's not exactly an economical viable city to live in, because it's expensive. And if you want to make a living just playing music alone, it's very, very difficult to choose Toronto as
you got to teach
place.
Music lessons. You got to do other things on top of that.
Yeah, you got to have side jobs, side hustles, and I do, and most of the musicians that I know in Toronto have side jobs too. So.
That's a tragedy, man.
It is. It's a shame.
It's a tragedy of the commons, actually.
Yeah.
It's bigger than just a tragedy, because it's a tragedy for all of us.
Yeah. For those who like to go see live music. And I think that's part of the problem, is that, there's this new generation of younger people who don't want to go out and see live music and don't want to pay for it, because their brains have been trained that they can get it for free on Spotify. They can stream it online.
I don't know if it's that. So I'm not sure that's the reason why. Now, I agree with you that there's a problem with the younger generation, but I think it's almost like so. Let me unpack my idea about the tragedy first.
Sure.
Okay, and then maybe you can comment, because I don't think it's a Spotify thing.
Yeah.
Because someone was telling me, like, you need like 1 million plays on Spotify to get $4,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's insane, dude.
It's true, though. In Canada, it's true. It's the way the system is structured in Canada.
Like 1 million plays is a ton of plays.
It's a ton of plays, and you're looking at big artists who can only garner a million plays. So.
Yeah. So, but so in my opinion, the tragedy kind of stems from. It's almost like their generation is not being spoken for musically.
That's an interesting point. And how do you what leads you to that idea?
Okay, so I think it's a combination of globalization. I think in the internet and the what was that thing called? The first guy that came out with the music sharing thing years
Napster?
Napster.
Yeah.
So Napster kind of blew it up, right? I think Kurt Cobain has something to do with it. Huh. So for example, like when my dad talks about, John Lennon, say, you think, wow, try to see it my way, whatever, right? You think, wow, that's a there's something positive, there's something beautiful, there's a message of love there. Kurt Cobain blew his head off, dude.
Yeah.
So like Kurt Cobain is like the John Lennon of my generation.
For sure.
Right? And he killed himself.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, the music died with Kurt Cobain and the grunge era.
There's no question about it. It was a symbolic time, and it's an interesting way of looking at it. I think the older generation did have a lot of people who were the voices of them. John Lennon is definitely
Mick Jagger would be up there.
Mick Jagger,
and then there's even subgroups like the Grateful Dead would be another one.
Absolutely, you could even look at the big bands of the time, like the AC/DCs and the Led Zeppelins. They were voices of that time. And I that's an interesting point, the globalization, because there is so much music to absorb. There's so much music out there now because of the Napsters, because of the Spotifys, because of the globalization. Like, you look at this K-pop thing in Korea, it's blown up. And there's a lot of young people in North America who are attached to that and listening to that. And that's something that's being brought to North America. And maybe you hit on something, that there isn't really a voice of the generation today, because it's so, everything is just so homogenized. It's just like there's so much.
Sure.
Where is that one artist? Where are those few artists that are really speaking for the generation? And somebody could say that, like, a young artist like Taylor Swift is speaking to the generation, but is she really?
Does she write her songs?
She writes her songs, but it's a money machine. It's an absolute money machine.
So you take a Drake, for example.
Drake's the same way.
Well, Drake, so I was in St. Louis last week, and I'm an Uber driver. And apparently, I didn't know this, but in the States, you can't say that someone's black. You have to say the person in the yellow coat. Okay. Oh, which one? The black lady? No, I don't know. I don't see any black lady. Okay, I was like, what?
Not the way we think in Canada.
No, it's like, you mean the black lady over there? No, I don't know what you're talking about.
That's crazy,
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, no, it's totally crazy. America is, it's like,
what are you talking about?
Messed up
She's a
place,
lovely,
man.
beautiful black lady over there.
Yeah.
I'd like to go talk to her, meet her, whatever, right? It's like, you guys are nuts. But anyway, so I'm in a cab with an African-American, Uber driver.
Okay.
Right, and so we're talking about hip hop, and she's talking about St. Louis and telling us these are the spots to go and this and that. And we're just talking, and we're driving along, right? You know how it is in an Uber, right? Sometimes you get into a conversation with the lady.
For sure.
So I'm talking to her, and she's like, "Oh, you from Canada? You must know Drake. Isn't he awesome?" And I told her, I said, Drake's kind of like half white, half African American. Macaulay Culkin became a rapper.
Right.
Right, because he was on Degrassi High. And she's like, what are you talking about?
He's mixed race.
I said, he probably played ice hockey, right? He was a star, and he's from, I don't know if his family's rich or whatever, but he's not from, the...
I think his family is rich. He grew up in Yorkville.
Right.
Yeah. The Rosedale.
No, not Rosedale. He grew up in Thornlea, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway.
But I think he came from some cash.
Anyway, started from the top, now he stayed.
Yeah.
Can we put it that way?
For sure.
You know what I mean? And so, but he has this perception of being associated with these African-American artists in the States that are legitimately from, hard up, right? And he's kind of in that crew. And in a way, there's a cultural appropriation there, but we won't get into that. That's a tough topic. But what I'm saying is, like, Drake is a marketing genius. He's a business genius.
Yep.
How good his music is, I'm not a musician. I'm not going to judge. I think it's relatively, every song sounds the same. Like every song has the same beat or the same vibe. And I'm not against rap music. I think there's a lot of great rap artists out there that have something to say. But how could Drake be the leader? He's like, they're like, Drake sells more than the Beatles. And I'm like, give me a break, man.
But you know what? It all goes down to branding.
It's a marketing genius.
Drake is a branding genius. And the music is for me, Drake, the music is just a stepping stone to everything else that he's obviously wanted to do. He's obviously had big dreams from the start.
Sure.
And the music is the one thing that got him in. I'm in. Even when the acting in the Degrassi, he obviously had stars in his eyes, but everything else, his logo of the owl and the OVO festival in Toronto,
Sure.
and the branding being attached to the Toronto
He's the CEO of a
Raptors.
corporation.
He is the CEO of the Drake
Inc.
Drake
Whatever.
Inc. And everything he does goes back to that brand, whether it's hosting on Saturday Night Live, whether it's hosting, because he hosts those sports awards, the
Sure.
ESPYs, he's done that. Whether he's doing a concert, whether he's in a feud with another rapper.
Sure. It's all a game.
It's all a big game. And to me, is that really connecting to young people? I think they're connected to the brand. I think as opposed to like
Pepsi.
Like Pepsi. Like he's a bottle of pop.
He's a cheeseburger.
And so
Mac.
is Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
and so
sure.
is Katy Perry.
They're products of consumerism.
They're products of consumerism.
Yeah.
And so back to your point, is there a voice for the generation? Maybe that is what the generation is all about. Just consuming this consumption of what people are creating that is not exactly, it's not about the music anymore.
No, it's not.
That's the thing. It's like,
It's about the lifestyle.
It's about the lifestyle.
Sure.
I need to have the jacket with the logo on. I need to go to a Raptors game to see Drake there. Oh, I want to go see the Raptors practice facility. It's not about the music anymore. With that,
There's an argument that he's not even a musician.
some could say that. I would argue that he is, because I think he's, regardless if you like or dislike his music, I mean, there is an element of musicality to what he's doing.
There's an element of musicality to it, but you take like a David Bowie.
Well, yeah. It's
Okay.
not even the same league as far as I'm
Well,
concerned.
that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so he's a musician. So is my daughter. She plays the piano. Okay, and I mean, okay. So what I think is happening with the generation now is that they are because of social media, they become so susceptible to You ever read that magazine? I go to the library and read it sometimes. It's about advertising, and they talk about the what's it called? They're against advertising altogether.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the.
It's in that magazine. I can't remember, ad something or other, and they're against advertising.
Okay.
So they talk about that people can't tell the difference between advertising and reality anymore.
Well, it's like the whole fake news thing. What's real and what's not real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you go onto Instagram and you see what these artists are doing, is this real? Is this something that's true? And the reality is, with social media out there and with the branding of what these artists can do, they can fake anything. They can make anything seem or sound like how they want it to sound and how they want it to seem. And it might, it's completely untrue.
There's a deep inauthenticity to music today.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I completely agree with that.
Like when Guns N' Roses came out with Appetite for Destruction, that was crazy. Dude.
Hit you like a ton of bricks.
Oh
the
my
opening
God.
guitar riff on that record, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
This is new, and this is hitting me right here.
Yeah.
And this is going to stay with me, and I want a piece of that.
Yeah, I think I was 11 years old or something like that, and someone
Yeah.
gave me the tape, and it had the cross on the front of it with the things. and
Yeah.
my parents would have burned it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I grabbed it, I put it in the thing, and I turned it on. I remember, I was like, whoa, what is this?
Oh, I remember listening to that record. I think that's where I got my tinnitus, my hearing loss from, was listening to Guns N' Roses so loud
man.
back in the day. And
They came out hot, bro.
hot. And so did Nirvana.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that whole kind of generation, that like late 80s into the mid 90s, kind of like maybe the last bastion of like what maybe is real.
But there was a huge difference between Guns N' Roses and the other hair bands, dude.
Oh, there's no question about
You
it.
can't even compare them.
Guns N' Roses to me crossed a generation, like Motley Crue and all those guys, those real hair bands. And even though Guns N' Roses
Whitesnake, Poison, that stuff. Yeah.
That was kind of like consumerism of,
Yeah, it was.
of
Of the
music
kind.
back
Yeah,
then.
yeah, exactly.
But then you got Guns N' Roses doing something that's like, what is this? It's like Zeppelin meets AC/DC meets grunge meets
Yes.
hair band meets
Yes.
a bunch of party guys, you know what I mean?
You know what the other one that was for me? So when I was 2000, I can't remember when it came out, but the other album that really hit me like that, and this is the last one. So there's only 3 albums in my life that I remember coming out going, whoa, and not even Pearl Jam, okay?
Yeah.
I think Pearl Jam was like, I don't even know if they came out before Nevermind. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. Never mind.
But Pearl Jam was good. Like, I mean, I liked Pearl Jam at the time, but looking back, I mean, Eddie Vedder, I mean, I don't know if he was really embodying anything or if he symbolized anything. As good as I like their music.
Yeah,
But Kurt Cobain and Nirvana symbolized something.
Absolutely, for
You know?
sure.
The other guy that did it was Limp Biskit.
Okay.
When they came out with that album, now it was like a combination of rap with rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was the other album that when I was 21 or something like that came out, and I was like, whoa, these guys have a different sound.
Yeah.
And they're new. And they had one album maybe, and then they flashed out, or 2 albums, and then, but there seems like there's nobody out there that's really coming out and being themselves and putting themselves out there like an artist that's vulnerable.
Yeah, yeah. There's no question about it. Especially in the pop era. There's nothing that's really hitting me that rings like that. I think there are a lot of artists out there that are doing stuff that's real and true, but they're just harder to find, and they're definitely not on the radio. You know, I mean, you have to go and dig, and you have to
be a shameless self-promoter or something.
Oh, there's no question about it. And I'm, as a musician myself and trying to get my music out there, that's something I'm horribly uncomfortable with. And I'm not comfortable with the whole social media aspect of doing it. I do it because I want to promote my music, and I know that's the way.
Yeah.
But it's not something that I'm comfortable with. And a lot of the musicians that I know are of like mind and of like age and of a like generation. We're all uncomfortable with it. We don't know how to navigate that, other than like, here's a picture of me holding my guitar in my practice space, and
with my band that I'm so grateful for.
Exactly, and so I don't have the big money machine behind me to do this. So as an independent artist, I just do it on my own. And when I see these artists like the Taylor Swifts and the Drakes and the Selena Gomez's and stuff like that, it's all about money.
Yeah.
It's just all about money. And it has nothing to do with them being any good, because I think half of their songs are crap. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's about money.
No, like these people don't put together albums.
No, it's just
that means something. Like when someone used to come out with an album
that had a theme,
yes,
or and the whole album in itself, just not the music but the artwork and the whole concept behind it. It had meaning. It had meaning to the artist.
Yes,
you know what I mean. And that's what people connected with, those human.
Even
things.
Like the sides of records had different meanings.
Absolutely,
too.
Side 1, side B. My latest record, I had a side 1, side B, so there's kind of a different feel for each side. That the second side was a little bit darker, and the first side was a little bit lighter, and that was done consciously.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted that kind of
together an album.
I wanted that kind of idea to kind of be put out there.
I didn't even realize
that
didn't hit me till my wife cruises Kijiji.
Sure.
Right? Whatever. Just looking for, I don't know, whatever she's doing, right? And
buying stuff that you can't afford.
Yeah. So she sends me this text message all of a sudden out of the blue, okay? She's like, this guy's getting rid of his whole record collection for $200.
What?
Right?
Vinyl?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So she goes down, David Bowie, the Beatles, he had everything in there.
Man.
Led Zeppelin, Bob Dylan, so many albums. So my wife rushed down there and grabbed it. She's like, you sure? It's like all these milk crates of records, right?
Yeah.
And so she calls me, she's like, we need to get a record player, right? So I'm like, okay, how do I buy a where do I do that? Now it's popular now.
It's popular. Vinyl has totally come back.
This is about 5 years ago.
About 5 years ago, it was kind of like the resurgence. And I know a lot of younger people who are buying vinyl and getting into listening to records because they understand that it sounds better and it's cooler.
There's a different sound to it. Totally, dude.
Warmer sound.
Totally.
And
but let me make my point. So I didn't even get the whole album thing, because with tapes it wasn't the same way. I never had records in my life. I had tapes and then CDs. Okay?
Yeah, same here.
So when I actually put on, I don't even know what the album's called. The one with the big Zeppelin on it.
Oh,
the Led Zeppelin album.
That was their first album, I think. The first one.
And I think
Zeppelin 3. Maybe.
I can't remember. I put it on and it's got the Ramble On and all this stuff on it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm listening to it. I'm not a huge Led Zeppelin fan. And I never was. My wife always was a big Led Zeppelin fan. I like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, and I'm not a big Led Zeppelin. But when I put the whole album on, I listened to it. It changed my view of Zeppelin.
Interesting. In what way? Just
I don't know. It just came together more for me.
Yeah.
When I listened to the whole side of the album, I'm like, let's flip this thing over, and the other side of it. And then I started listening to these records, like David Bowie was another one where I never really appreciated him until I listened to his records. Yeah. And I'm like, this guy's a friggin' genius, man.
Yeah, and those artists came from the generation of putting together a full idea of a record was what you did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is my collection of songs, and this is the collection of where my head's at right now. Like when Bowie went through his Berlin phase, it was all like very, very experimental, which sounds completely different from Let's Dance, which sounds completely different from Space Oddity, which sounds completely different from his final album, which was released when he passed, you know? And to me, that's the sign of a great artist who's just doing what's in his heart.
Being vulnerable.
Being vulnerable, not being afraid to put out, here's something that's completely weird and completely different. And you know, get into it. Get into myself. Get inside my head, because I'm letting you guys inside my head. And I love that. That's a huge inspiration for me. Like, I love those artists who were able to. Dylan was a perfect example of that. There's a guy who was on top of the world and completely switched gears. It sounds kind of funny and trivial to us now of him going electric, but when he went electric, that was a pretty big deal. And a lot of people
didn't he have to turn up the amplifier at one of his shows because people were booing him? People
were booing him and throwing stuff at him and stuff like that. But you know, it's just huge respect and huge props for a guy to do that, because it's brave, and especially when you were at the peak of his fame at that time. A voice for the generation, a voice for that folk generation, people who are looking for something else and people who are ticked off with life and society. Dylan was their voice, and for him to completely switch direction was like a complete departure. I think Cobain would have done the same thing if he had lived longer, and he was kind of on that path. You know, I mean, he would have changed. He wouldn't have been doing the same thing he was doing, because he was always looking to.
Well, he wrote some
different.
of Courtney's songs too, didn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
Like "Go On, Take Everything." There's like this one thing I heard years ago of him playing that song.
Yeah.
And it was so dark, dude, when he played it. He was like playing it acoustically.
He was so vulnerable too.
Yeah, and he's like, "Go on, take everything." It was like, whoa, man.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, I mean, was he great?
I think so. I mean,
I don't know what you mean by great.
I mean, great for me is just a guy who was just connected to his music, connected to the sound.
Oh, yes.
Knew
in tune with the generational vibe.
Yeah, in tune with like making music that was real. I know he wasn't happy with the Nevermind album because it was so big and so thick, but it made them huge stars, and that was probably the start of the.
But his music was so dark, dude.
But that Unplugged album, to me, that's Cobain at his best.
Yes, when he sings that, not All Apologies. Which one is the one he does?
It's The Man Who Sold the World, which is the Bowie song.
Yes, that's a good one too. But I'm thinking of the other one where he really screeches in it. I can't remember what it's called. Oh man, it just goes right to my heart even to think about it. Like he's obviously, I think he died soon after that, didn't he? After that?
Yeah. I mean, he was obviously a troubled guy, troubled
but he,
soul.
he definitely was the symbol of a generation of people.
Absolutely,
that were
sure.
disenfranchised, disaffected, didn't know where they were going. The end of the end of the baby boomer. Everyone has a job for life. Times,
Yeah,
and
it's so interesting because music for generational people is so connected to the way the society is going and the way people are and stuff like that. And Lennon was the same way. Dylan was the same way.
Yes.
And is there somebody in 2019 who's the same? I don't think so.
I don't see anybody on the landscape. Now, I may be out of it, bro. We may not be in touch.
Maybe we are the ones who are out of touch and talking from a generation where we come from. But, I think there's something to be said for our generation, too, as far as music fans are concerned. I think we're touching on those things.
Yeah, I think there might be I think consumerism and social media and the connected generation, there may be something that it may be beauty and art destroying in it. Like there may be something in consumerism which is antithetical to the creation of great art.
That's a very, very interesting point, and I think that's true. I think for these big artists, I don't think it's about the music anymore. It's just about everything that's surrounding it. How many hits can they get on YouTube? It's almost like they're looking for the next thing to do to make a point that has nothing to do with their music. Like, what can I do that's different? That, like Drake and that viral thing that went with people are dancing outside. They're jumping out of their car and they're dancing and it's on video. Are you kidding me? That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Sure.
And how is this associated with music? And all it is just generating people to go to listen to his music. Eyeballs. Stream.
Yeah.
I don't know how they sleep at night. I don't know. It's like if I was in their position, I don't know if I would be able to sleep at night knowing that I'm putting something out into the world that's not even really mine. It means nothing. Does it really mean anything to them? I don't know. I'm talking for them, but that's how I see it.
I mean, so look, I mean, I sell light bulbs to make money. Okay?
Sure.
Is there an art in designing a quality lighting system for somebody? I suppose there's a lot of meaning there.
Sure.
I mean, there is. I mean, there's depth in anything when you get into it. I'm not sure there's much depth in the creation of the way that music is created. Like we said, there's an inauthenticity.
Yeah, I know. It's a
It's inauthentic. How's that? It's inauthentic, right? So
it's not real.
So I think that's what's happening is here's my other thing. So as much as I love the classic rock hits, and that, why is it that whenever I see a live band, it's all cover songs now?
Well, hey, as a live musician, I'm up against that because I only do, and I spent years doing covers, doing cover gigs. I spent two years as a resident musician at a wine bar out in Scarborough where I live, where I was playing 3 nights a week, and I was doing 90% covers because that's what the guy wanted, and I needed the dough.
Getting paid.
I was getting paid, but boy, it sucked the life out of me. Just that's it. I'm done. And but bars who will pay, and there are bars out there who will pay for a band to come in a pretty decent wage, but all they want is covers because they want their patrons to hear songs that they know. But to me, that's not. To me, it's fine. I'm not taking anything away from.
There's business in that.
There's a business in that, and I understand that everybody needs to make a buck, and I understand that for some musicians, that's the way that they want to go, and that's great. For me, I can't do that. I don't want to do that because what I'm creating musically is something that means a lot to me, and that's what, and I want to put that out into the world, and people are connecting to it when I play. So I have to pick the places that won't pay me a set wage necessarily.
Sure.
Sometimes I play for tips. Sometimes I'll pay for a piece of the bar, like a percentage of the bar, and that's fine. I'm totally fine with that. I would rather do that than go to some bar and say, okay, here's an easy $500, and just go and learn a bunch of cover songs because I would be bored out of my tree, and that's not something that. As an artist and a musician, I want to create. I'm creating something. It's about the creation of creating something from nothing. Here's just something that I've created. I'm going to put it out into the world. I hope that you like it. And but there's a lot of bars and bar owners who want covers. I played a gig recently, and I started my set, and the bar owner came on. He goes, "You're not playing any cover songs. You got to play any cover songs." I said, "Well, when I reached out to you, I told you I don't do cover songs. I'm doing my own song. I play a few. I'll sprinkle in a few covers here and there, but I'm not going up there
9
and
to 1 instead of 1 to 9.
Yeah, I'm not playing Brown Eyed Girl, and I'm not playing Wonderwall and Johnny Cash anymore. I'm just not doing it. And so, you know what I mean? It was, it's some bar owners want that, and that's fine for them. It's not necessarily fine for me.
I went to Hughes Room recently.
Oh, that's a great place. Yeah.
I think it closed down for a bit.
It did, yeah. It's just reopened recently.
Yeah. So I went down there and I saw my friend Kirk Reed. I don't know if you know Kirk Reed. He checked you out on Facebook. You guys have a bunch of shared friends, but I don't think you've met.
No, I don't.
So he's a career musician as well, and he's hilarious because he has a couple bands he's in. One's the Reed Effect, and then he's in, I can't remember, Muddy Waters Blues Band or something like that.
Oh, that's great.
So he does so I went to see his blues band. I can't remember what the name is. Sorry, Kirk.
Hey, Kirk.
It was fun as heck, though. But we went to the Hughes Room, and we saw it, and it was like, I don't know if they were all originals, but I didn't recognize any of them. It was so nice, man.
Yeah. And that's great to hear from you, Mike, because it's, there are people out there who are seeking original music and want that authentic sound. They because they're so disenfranchised, like you and I are, with the whole consumerism of
I love
where's
Purple
the
Rain. I love the song Purple Rain. Okay.
I love Prince.
Yeah.
But there are people out there. There are people out there who are seeking original live music from humans who are making real music, and they want to hear the vulnerability of somebody's original songs. And musicians like myself, we just, instead of them coming to us, my attitude is I got to go to them. I'm trying to get to them and find little pockets of them and hopefully those little pockets will create a big pocket, and you can have some sort of a little fan base.
Yeah, I went to see his band, The Reed Effect, with my wife one night too, and we're in the it was that's more of a rock show.
Okay.
So he's jamming out on his guitar and all that sort of stuff, and we met some people. We're talking to people there, and it was a great show. And we were like, "What are you doing here?" And we're like, "How do you know about Reed Effect?" I'm like, "That's my kid's music teacher."
Yeah, that's funny. That's great.
Yeah, so he's a wonderful music teacher as well. But
Reed Effect, that's a great name.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, it actually has a lot of musicality to it as well, the Reed Effect, the name. Yeah, it's interesting.
It does, yeah.
So, how do you fix this thing?
Boy, I wish I had the answer, and I don't know if I'm the guy to answer that. I just would offer my opinion of, I think it has to start at the grassroots level. I think a city like Toronto, for example, who talks about it being the music city, can create more, there are bylaws in the city against noise, for example. Mm-hmm. There's a place I play in the beaches called Castro's, which is a little standalone place, and upstairs they've got independent apartments. And there are bylaws in Toronto that you can't make a racket after a certain hour, and they get complaints, and the bar owner has to shut down the music after a certain hour. Well, if we want to be a music city, maybe loosen those laws a little bit. You know what I mean? There in Nashville and in Austin, Texas, they have
Austin's the other one.
Austin, yeah.
I've never been there.
They have outside of any live venue, they have loading zones for musicians, as like we would have a loading zone here for somebody loading up bread or something like that. So musicians don't have to pay, and don't they get ticketed, to park there so they can load and unload their gear.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's another thing that could happen. The city of Toronto is doing a lot of things for musicians. They have, this YYZ festival at the Pearson Airport. I was lucky to play that last year, and they pay handsomely, and you get a chance to play your music in front of lots of people traveling through the airport. And that's fine. I just think that the city of Toronto can do more. I think that, musicians can do more as well. I think that there's a lot of venues out there that want musicians to play for free for the exposure. You know what I mean? And I think that's on the musicians to say, no, if you want me to come and play, you should be paying us, regardless if it's a flat fee or a percentage of the bar or something. There has to be something. There has to be some incentive.
There's nothing wrong with a singer-songwriter night on a Sunday night or something like that. Where
it's great.
You have a piano and a guitar up there, and people can sign up the week before, and I'm a new musician and go there, and maybe that's not paid or something like that. But to have it all the time is definitely. It's a tough nut for musicians today, man, to make a buck.
It is, and it's it is. And as I say, most musicians I know, and including some musicians who people would know their names, like these are national figures who are on the national stage, are questioning their lot in being a musician because they can't make a living. Part of it has to do with streaming on Spotify. Part of it has to do with venues closing down. Part of it has to do with people not coming to the shows anymore. You know what I mean?
What is country music doing right?
Well, I mean, country music is the country music is like a universe unto itself. It's like a different planet where country music fans are so loyal and so dedicated to the artists that they love that it's a win. It's a win-win. So a good friend of mine's in the Washboard Union. They just recently won the Juno Breakthrough Group of the Year, and they've won CMA awards and stuff like that. And they've only been on the scene recently, but they're a bunch of older guys. Like, they're not young men.
Sure.
They've been playing music all their lives, and but they latched onto a sound, latched onto something that people connected with. And I told them, I said, you guys are going to latch onto something that people are going to connect with. Boom, you guys are going to be in for life. So country music, a lot of what country music is doing to me, it's based on the fans. The fans are loyal. I used to do radio at a country radio station, and the fans are so loyal. They will not stray. If they like what you're doing, you're in for life. They'll buy your records for life. To me, that's a big part of what country music.
But is there like an inauthenticity? Is it inauthentic as well in a sense?
Oh, I think so. I think there's a huge. I think a lot of the country music that's coming out today that's popular is just
it's pop music.
Another can of Pepsi.
Yeah.
There's another bag of chips.
That's why when I turn on the stations and people are like, oh, I love country music, I turn on a station. I listen to it. I don't hear
I don't hear
anything I love, man.
I don't hear any originality. It's all the same. I think all the artists sound the same.
Yeah, they kind of sound this, and they kind of look the same.
They all
sometimes.
look the same.
You know,
and the song, you know.
I mean, we're being critical. We're dumping on a lot of people today on this show.
I come from a generation where it's like
we're lucky. Only about 200 people will listen to it, so we're not going to get into too much trouble.
After this, it'll be 199.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no. To me, the country music scene is almost worse than the pop scene. Ooh. Like the Drake and I'd rather listen to Drake and Taylor Swift than listen to these country artists. To me, the country music thing is like, what's the big hit now? Let's make every single song now for the next year sound exactly like that, and that's what it is. Now, there are a couple.
Listen, I think it's fun to party. It's a party atmosphere.
It is a party atmosphere, but every single song seems to talk about having a shot of this and a shot of that, and in the back of your car, the guy's drunk, and I like you, girl, and I like you, boy, and it's the same freaking theme, and there's no originality in it, especially from a genre of music that has so many incredible original artists, like the Johnny Cashes and the Merle Haggards and the Garth Brooks.
It has a deep history of fantastic music, of vulnerable music.
Yeah, sure. Talking about your life and talking about the sorrow.
Yeah, sure. Like you take November Rain. Where's the November Rain in country music now? Like that song.
There's just...
Or Don't Cry. Or, pick the love song from the, whatever era, where it's like the guy's like, this is pain, dude. Like the pain of love, dude.
Pain. There's nothing out there. There are a couple of great country artists on the scene today that I think are fantastic. Chris Stapleton is one. He's a guy doing it for real. Casey Musgraves, she's great. Brandi Carlile. And it's nice to see them starting to become more popular. And I hope that maybe 5 years from now, we could have another conversation about those are the leading artists in the country music scene, because everybody else, it's one band. To me, they all sound like the same band, the same solo guy. I don't even know who they are, and I could care less because the music does nothing for me.
Sure. Yeah, so it's an interesting situation with music. It's like right now, like I said, music is, and it's dark when you think about it, because what you're producing artistically is kind of who you are.
Yeah, should
be. It is.
In a way, yeah.
Like what's popular, like the art that's popular. And if you look at different eras of time, if you, it's not a coincidence that Europe built beautiful buildings that are unbelievable and took 100 years to make, and created classical music. Like those two things are not, they're not separated from one another.
Yeah, there's a synchronicity with that.
Yes, like they're making beautiful things.
Beautiful things, yeah.
Yes.
And here in North America, there's so much pressure on being the same. You go on social media, and it's like, young girls are looking at these women who are on social media and how they're presenting themselves, and that's the way I'm supposed to be. I have to pose like that to get so many followers.
And that touches close to the heart, because I have 3 daughters. I have a teenage daughter right now, 16, almost 16. She's struggling with that, with the image and the stuff on social media and the pressure and.
I can't. It's got to be very, very difficult.
Yes,
to
sure.
be a young person.
And for the first time, men are being objectified as well.
Absolutely, there's no question about it. Absolutely. And
so I got a message like, you're worthy. You're a human being. You're worthy of love and affection and appreciation. Actually.
And there's so much.
For who you are, like right now.
Yeah, boy, we're going down a rabbit hole here.
But that's what music is about in a way.
Totally, and I was going to bring it back to the fact that
the fact that I feel unworthy. That's what music is about as well.
And I want that instant gratification of that instant hit and that instant thing, something that's going to make me feel good, something that's going to make me feel happy right now. Boom, but it can't. Will it last? No. And so, and that's what these music companies are feeding those people. It's all about making money for these people, these big corporations, the Sonys.
So let me ask you this. So you mentioned some country artists. I forgot who they were. We don't need to bring them up again. But once they become famous, are they forced to conform into this
big
mold?
Time. Oh, huge. Because they have a hit or they have a couple of minor hits, and it's like, okay, let's just do that again. You're going to do that song again. And then they go into the studio, and they might have half of a co-write on a song, and then the rest of the song is written by 15 other people who are the people in the know. And then this gets produced by the same producer who produced all the other hits. It's a very, very small thing that's happening in country music these days, where it's all done by the same people, written by the same people, and to create a same sound. There's no original sounds in country music. It's all the same. And so these companies, you had a hit with that song, we're going to do that song part 2. We're going to do that song part 3.
Yeah.
And then, that person got a big hit with this kind of sound. We're going to have that kind of sound for this song. It's like, hey, I want to do a country song with fiddles or with a string section and French horns. No way. What are you, crazy? That's
what blew John Lennon's mind away. He's trying to put on a concert, and he's got half a symphony orchestra there to do the concert.
Yeah.
At the end with the Beatles before they broke up.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't do this anymore. It's too much. I got symphony orchestra over here for this song, and I got all these, like, I'm pulling my my hair out, right? But you know what's interesting about that? One song popped in my head when you said like the mechanical production of songs, right? Like the song machine.
Yeah.
Right. Put the artist in here, and out the other side comes a song.
It's great. Song machine. Great.
The song
analogy,
machine,
yeah.
right? So you know what's interesting? What struck me is that, remember that song? And I love Sheryl Crow. I'm a big Sheryl Crow fan.
She's
Okay.
good.
Yeah. But when Chris Rock and Kid Rock or Chris Rock or what's his name? You know what I'm talking about? Kid Rock. Kid Rock and Sheryl Crow were put in the machine and came out with that duet.
Yes.
That feels like that right
was
there.
the machine.
I'm drunk and doing cocaine and I'm missing you and you're my boyfriend. And it's just like that was the music.
That was
machine.
a machine. And there's tons of examples of that out there. You could go through every generation, including the 70s.
Sure,
you know what I mean? It's like, and that's what.
But it's not enduring.
No, it's not enduring, and it might be that one, like, it might be a song that, like, it's a nice little earworm for somebody at that time. And, if the artist can live with it and be fine with that, that's fine. But there's record companies, once again, getting involved. They'll take, a female artist from their record company and this male artist, let's put them together and let's make a hit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And they're just seeing dollar signs rolling in their eyes. They're making money for their company, and we can take 2 of them.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
It's
like,
fine.
I'm okay with it.
We all got to make a buck.
Yeah, sure.
And business is business. I get it.
But we're just thinking there's a purpose void here.
Yeah, and the other thing too is there are a lot of artists out there who do get signed, and they get signed into the big contracts, and they've got the stars in their eyes, and they'll do anything that the record company tells them because they're there. They've made it. This record company's given me this opportunity. What do you want me to do? For sure, I will do that, even if it's against what they want to do.
Take authenticity over charisma every time, man. That's the thing. So what they're doing, there's like a selling of the soul or something.
Oh,
happening.
for sure, absolutely. It's a huge part of the music industry, huge selling of the soul, because a lot of the songs that we're talking about are, just another bottle of pop.
And Coke tastes good sometimes, I guess.
Yeah,
sure.
Once in a while, I like a good bag of chips. And
sure,
it's fine. But
there's definitely, it's interesting. So Canada only has one legitimate visual art movement, which is the Group of Seven.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful stuff. I love those guys.
For sure.
That was just one of my favorite parts of being Canadians, being attached to those paintings.
I own a couple, actually.
Of the originals?
Yes, not the original paintings, but the
small prints.
Yeah, they're not called prints. They're called sketches. But what they are, so they didn't have color photography.
Right.
So what the way they would work is they would go up to the north with these birch bark boards.
Right.
Okay, and they would go up north, and they would paint the colors, and they would come back to their studios and they would paint the larger works.
Oh, I see.
So I actually like the sketches better than the larger works.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And what painters do you have?
I have an Edwin Holgate.
Okay.
I have Franz Johnson. I have A.Y. Jackson.
Oh, boy.
I have Arthur Lismer. I have a J.E.H. McDonald. And I have 2 Lauren Harrises.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Those are... I mean, I would love to see. I've seen some of them in art galleries, the sketches one. But
and I should have an A.J. Casson as well, because what happened is I walked into the art gallery. I'm not saying where it is because it's a secret. This guy's a secret. You got to come and ask me, take me out for dinner if you want me to introduce you to this guy. He might actually come on the show, though.
Wow.
He might actually come on the show. Great guy. But anyway, his name is Wayne Buckingham. It's Buckingham Fine Art there. I can't do that. I feel awful. Come on, Wayne.
Give him a shout out.
Yeah, sure. He's awesome, dude. Wayne Buck. He's an older guy. He's a great guy. Anyway, so I walk into his gallery one day, and my wife had bought a couple pieces from him.
Okay.
And so she's like, you got to meet this guy, Wayne. You have to meet this. You're going to love him because he's just your kind of guy and all this sort of stuff. And he's hilarious. He's in his 70s or whatever. And he's like, he was kind of flirting with me too. And he said, one of those old guys that's still, he's a nice guy. Nice guy. So I go to the gallery and I walk in and I'm like, is that an A.J. Casson, Wayne? He's like, yeah, it's an A.J. Casson. Is that a J.H. McDonald? He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, it's real. I'm like, come on, dude, those are real?
Wow.
He's like, yeah. I said, okay. All right. And I looked at the prices. I said, I'm going to buy all of them.
Whoa.
He's like, you're going to buy all of them?
These are the sketches, right?
The sketches,
yeah.
right? And he's like, that's a Holgate. That's a the Carmichaels are very valuable because he didn't paint that much. So I don't have a Carmichael. But anyway, he's like, well, you can have all of them except the Cassin. I said, well, is it for sale or not? He's like, well, I have another client that told me that if anyone else comes in and wants to buy it, I should call him first. I said, I want to buy it right now, Wayne. I'm really mad about this. And he's like, no, you can't have the Cassin. So I bought everything that he had except the Cassin, and the other person then, because obviously they were worried about the value.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, I know what that's worth. And I know you don't have it priced right. So I'm buying it right now. Right? So anyway, the other person ended up buying it, so I don't have a Cassin. But my J.H. McDonald is, he's the Canadian Van Gogh, dude. He's a beautiful, beautiful painter.
They're all so original and so unique in their own way. That's what I love about them. You can look at, you can look at a Jackson and go, that's A.Y. Jackson. It's so
beautiful.
vibrant with his colors.
Sure.
And Lauren Harris was so unique and original.
Well, so the Lauren Harris I have are not paintings, okay?
Yeah.
They're from his sketchbook when he took his trip out west. No, not his actual drawing book. When you say a sketch with Group of Seven, you're talking about a small painting?
Yeah.
Where they capture the colors.
Right.
And so my Lauren Harris is from his book.
Oh, cool.
So it's like, it's a drawing of the mountain, and then he had the colors like written in.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes, but now if you have a sketch of Lauren Harris, it's going to be $1 million. And even his sketches are probably $2 million now.
And that's like getting into the mind of how they're starting to think about what they're doing.
I love that art.
And Tom Thompson he's my favorite of the bunch, even though he wasn't officially part of the Group 7. But
you know how I think it started? So here's what's interesting. So most people don't know this, but every single tree in Ontario was cut down. Okay? So like Algonquin Park was clear cut.
Yeah.
So every tree in Algonquin Park was cut down.
Crazy.
All the way, I think, up to Temagami about.
Wow.
But Temagami is where you get into old growth. Okay, so they cut down every single tree south of Temagami, say.
Wow.
Most people don't know that. So if you go to my father-in-law's cottage in the Kawarthas, that's the holding tank, Lake Mississauga, and the what do they call it? Kawartha, whatever, the Kawartha Highlands.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the holding tank for the Trent Canal.
Right.
Okay, so they flooded it. I don't know, in the late 1800s. They flooded that area, they dammed it and flooded it. So the water level is like, I don't know, whatever, 30 feet higher there than it was in 1850. Huh. So they made those lakes bigger and then dammed them, and then they created the Trent Canal. And when they need more water, they drain the Kawartha Highlands. That's how it works. Huh. Okay? So when they drain it, so the water level in that lake goes down 8 feet from now till October.
Right.
And then they fill the Trent Canal. So imagine that engineering project, trying to do that today.
No kidding.
That's crazy, to think about. It took them 100 years to build it or whatever. To
Yeah.
get the trees out.
Yeah.
They wanted to get the trees out.
And with the technology that we don't have today to be able to do that.
And I'm going to loop this to the Group of Seven in a
Crazy.
second, okay? Because I think this is what happened. Okay, this is my own dream up imagination story of this. Okay, this is not what happened, but this is what I tell people, and I say I made this up, but I think this is what happened because I've read a lot of stuff about the Group of Seven and everything else. So anyway, when they drain it down, he's got this area of the bay that he's on where there's like a bog. So when they drain the bog, there's these huge stumps that appear. Okay, and I started noticing this, and I'm like, that is one big ass stump. Like they're not big like BC big or Redwood big, but you're talking maybe like
big enough,
like that.
Big pines or whatever.
Right, white pine they were.
White pines,
yeah.
sure.
So like this wide. I look around in the forest around me, and I'm like, there ain't no trees that big here.
Yeah.
So that's when I started looking into it and found out they actually cut down all the trees up there.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, most people don't know that. All those trees were cut down.
Huh.
So they have these enormous stumps that are preserved because it's in a bog.
Sure. And
it drains it. But then you see them and you're like, oh, that's a big ass tree, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my story. Here's what I think happened with the Group of Seven, and this is my own opinion. Okay, they invented the chainsaw in that time. Okay, so before that, you think about it, they're cutting down most of these trees with saws. Like basic. They invented the chainsaw. And here's my thing. You know that famous picture where they're all sitting around the table and smoking cigarettes and the booze on the table?
Yep.
Here's how I see it. Okay,
I love that picture. Like from Toronto, I think.
Yeah,
Was it
from
Toronto?
Yeah, sure. So they're talking about, hey, did you hear about the new development in Rosedale? They're building houses up there. Yeah. Then in storms Lauren Harris or whoever, right? Whatever guy comes in, he goes, you're not going to believe this. I just came down from the north. You know what happened? What's going on? Because they're all painting like the city then. Right, they're painting houses. Like you look at their early work, they're painting, views of Toronto and all this sort of stuff.
Right.
And then Tom Thompson,
that's what Thompson did. He
went
first
first.
job.
He went,
but
he went first to the north.
Right.
So I was talking to Tom Thompson. You know what he said? He said, "What's that? They have this machine that cuts down trees in like 1 hour." Like, what are you talking about, man? They have this machine. It runs on oil. And it's like they start it up. It's like a car, but except instead of driving, it cuts down trees. And they're going to cut down all the trees. What do you mean they're going to cut down all the trees? It can't possibly cut down all the trees. No, they're going to cut down all the trees. We got to go paint it.
Wow.
We got to go paint it. I think that's where it came from, and that's why they were so passionate about capturing it.
Yeah.
Because they didn't make money to go do that. No one was paying them to go up there and do that.
No.
To capture this. And then that art movement. Because Canada was empty in a sense, and what they were trying to capture was the vastness of the landscape.
The vastness of the landscape, the beauty of the landscape that we don't necessarily see as city folk. You know what I mean? And,
but also the wilderness element.
The wilderness
and
element.
Before humans were going to go up there and cut it all down.
Totally. Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
That's
an
I think
interesting
what happened,
concept.
man. I think that's what happened.
Their work to me is magical, and they're like as a group, it's my favorite. They're some of my favorite artists and painters. I mean, and I love the Monets and the Picassos, and those guys were brilliant. But to me, the group of seven, probably because I'm Canadian, just hits home, and it's just so.
No, it resonates with you.
Resonates with me
for sure,
and it's so beautiful, and it's just so, and you touched on it. Is that like this wasn't just them sitting in their den painting a picture of a mountain. They actually went to that mountain and looked at it and interpreted it in their own way. Or Thompson, in his canoe painting a sketch that they're going to paint this, and whatever it was that they did. Emily Carr, what she did.
She was very dark.
Very, very dark. But
she was like the Kurt Cobain of that era or something.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Or maybe Tom Thompson too, but his life was so tragic. But they're all so beautiful. And when I go to the galleries and I know that there's going to be a group of 7 art pieces in this gallery, I don't leave those rooms.
Yeah,
I could stare at the stuff for days.
And it's funny because other Canadian artists, so you go to the McMichael, for example.
Yeah.
You walk through there and then you get to some of the other areas, and I'm trying to remember the names of these people, but you have this like, what's it, Jack Burns, or what's his name? Anyway, I think it's Jack Burns. And all it is like a red stripe.
Yeah. Man, some of that stuff I don't get.
I'm like, what is that? Why is that good art?
I'm with you. I'm just like, I could draw that. And I don't consider myself a visual artist.
Well, did you pick up the paint roller at Home Hardware?
I know. Sometimes the title is more interesting than the piece of art.
Yeah.
Sometimes I find in some of that stuff. There's some great Quebec artists too. Like there's some great. I can't remember the
Group of
guy's
7
name.
is an Ontario movement, actually.
Totally.
Yes.
But if you go to Kleinberg, go to McMichael. There's some Quebec artists there, and I don't remember their names.
Sure.
And
You're right
there's
about that.
one specific guy who paints like city scenes, little small scenes of winter, and it's some really good. But yeah.
So what I want to segue here is, I think there's a responsibility, in my mind, for a culture to create meaningful, enduring art.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a responsibility of the culture.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an option. I don't think it's something you think about. And when you're not doing that, it means that your culture is dying.
Absolutely.
Like if you can't create a meaningful art movement or whether it's architecture, classical music, or visual art, or whatever it is, if you can't produce a meaningful art movement, it means that your culture doesn't have any depth to it.
Absolutely. I mean, because art to me is the representation of what the culture and what the society is going through. Artists can't predict how the financial things are going to go, or who's in power, or who's doing this or who's doing that, but they can have a say in the art that they create, whether it's visual art or whether it's music. And
I think, and my point is this, I think that's the source of the bitterness. I think it's the source of the bitterness. And it's not that, because I see a lot of, a lot of performing artists, and musicians are very bitter that they can't earn a living with their music.
Oh, big time.
And the source of the bitterness is not necessarily like you shouldn't cultivate bitterness in yourself. That's the responsibility on them and as an individual to cultivate gratitude and to enjoy life and find meaning and make money and go through their lives. But if I could comment on the bitterness, I think the bitterness is that I'm being vulnerable. I'm here. My compadres are being vulnerable. How come you don't value this?
Yeah. This society doesn't seem to want to value it anymore.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And they might value it, but they might like it, but will they pay for it? And will they actually give something of themselves to have that part of their life? When I say give something of themselves, like a financial thing, which is how we have to make a living, right? We all have to make a living with money.
If you don't pay for something, it has no value by definition.
Right.
By definition.
By definition. So what does music have a value if it's being streamed on Spotify for free?
It has no value.
Anybody can go and listen to my music on Spotify for free, and it's like, where's the value in that? Like, it's great that my music's getting out there, but it's nice that I get the exposure. But the reality,
well, no, what they're saying to you is that what you really want is fame.
Well, that's what it goes back to the start of the conversation of the artists that we were talking about earlier, like Taylor Swift and to the Drakes, and how the younger generation is looking at. A lot of them just want the fame.
I'll tell you this. Most people, would rather be famous and notorious than rich.
Right.
Like if you told if Satan is standing before you, and he shows you the hordes of gold, because people say fame and money go together, right? Not necessarily. You can have lots of money and not be famous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You can be very wealthy and
you
be quiet and off on the side, and
you can be very famous and have no money too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of people think, fame, power, and money, and fame and money, and all that sort of stuff. I think everybody wants to be famous, and I think and everybody thinks they deserve fame.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess so. Like I think of wealth as being richer than money. I've always thought of it as that. And it's like, do I want to be appreciated for my music? Absolutely. Do I want to be famous? I don't know. I don't really care about
fame.
Comes
for you, for a true musician or a true artist, fame comes with a heavy load.
Heavy price of, because I would have to do it and I'm doing it on my own terms.
Sure.
And I respect the artists that have always done it on their own terms. So that would come with a heavy price if fame came with it. But sure, would I love one of my songs to be very, very popular? Absolutely. That'd be fantastic. Sure, who wouldn't want that? But, I think people can be wealthy in other ways, and it doesn't necessarily have to be money. You get your friends. I feel
your faith, your finances.
All those things can make
if you have all the money in the
life.
World, but you have
you're in a miserable relationship and you're not happy with,
you're not feeling gratitude and that on a regular basis, you're in trouble.
But some people seek the fame and they get it, and that's what they wanted in the first place. And if they have it, and then they,
Well, this is what happens. You take a guy like Justin Bieber, for example. Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a guy who's fallen down.
He's falling apart, dude.
Falling apart.
25-year-old, beautiful-looking guy, very successful. The guy's falling apart.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah.
And because he was so famous at such a young age, and had the stage mom who was behind it, and like, let's get famous, and just so much popularity at such a young age, and everybody knows who he is. He hasn't really had a chance to have a childhood.
Sure.
Same thing could be said for Michael Jackson, regardless of all the allegations against him and stuff like that. It was if you don't have a childhood, what do you base anything on?
Sure.
You know what I mean? And a guy like Bieber, like his music or not, I look at him.
I don't hate his music.
I actually don't mind his last album. I think there was some actually interesting production pieces on it. But I look at a guy like that and think, this guy is gonna is he gonna make it?
Yeah.
Is he gonna make it to 30?
Yeah, it's tough.
Because it's so much pressure on him. So many
he can't
eyes
disappear.
on him. So many people are relying on him to make a living.
Yes.
Managers, hangers-oners, people who do his hair, people who do his makeup, people who dance for him, people who play on his albums.
Sure.
So all these people are relying on Justin Bieber's money machine
Yes.
to make them money, right?
Yeah.
So, and the same could be said for Taylor Swift and Drake and these people. It's not just them; they're the top of the iceberg.
Yeah, there's a cascading effect.
Cascading effect down
Yes.
from them. Absolutely.
From the fame. And I think it's interesting because there's something perverse about fame.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, there's something, especially the desire for it is particularly.
It's
I don't think
strange.
to be famous is perverse. I think people can be famous and, you know, I mean, like,
They're okay with it, and
Yeah.
they can handle it well.
right.
Yeah.
It's not, there's almost like a preparation for it that used to happen. So you become famous in LA or you become famous in that area and you grow and it takes time. But now it's like, poof,
Yeah.
you're all over the world all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Right? And you have no roots in the ground. And so when the storm begins to blow, you get blown over,
Get
right?
blown over. Yeah.
But I think what it is that a lot of the young people today, because of social media, because of this instant gratification thing and the likes and the tweets and the whatever it is on Instagram, I'm still trying to figure that social media out, actually. I think I got it figured
Gamut
out,
for
actually.
me.
I got it figured out.
Somebody told me about. My wife was telling me the other day about it's all about algorithms. You got to post every single day, so the algorithms are keeping a beat. I don't know what that means, but apparently I don't know. Apparently that's what you got to do.
I think success is in any realm that involves art is about good content.
Absolutely, and you can create good content without trying to be, fame. Trying to be famous. You
Sure.
can still create interesting stuff, but it's all about content. And
How long
there-
should a
there-
podcast be?
how
As
long-
long as it's good conversation.
Yeah, and it's like, there are courses at college levels now that are all about social media and creating the proper content and how you should be creating your content and how often you should be uploading it. Like, so if you're taking if colleges are offering a course in that and taking money from people to learn how to do that, it's not going away.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's not going. Well, when do you step inside that thing?
Yeah.
Like, when do you actually step inside? Like, we're going to get your phone and we're just going to.
What's
That's
in there?
coming, dude.
Well, if
Dude,
it's,
you're not
if it's
gonna believe
not
it.
already there.
Okay, I said this to my wife the other day.
Yeah.
And she said, no way. Okay. So I like to read. Adbusters is the name of the magazine. Just
Okay,
popped
yeah,
in my
yeah,
head.
yeah.
Adbusters. Okay. And they have a whole mag. It's like left wing. But you know what's interesting is that I'm gonna loop around here. Most people say like you're right of center or you're right wing or whatever. But I'm actually deeply left wing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been saying this to a lot of people. Like if genetically, I'm a genetic left winger. I love breaking rules.
Yeah. Why not?
I love art. I have a lot of compassion for people.
Why not live how you want to live, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, and I so it's like a lot of people say, oh no, because you're a business owner and this sort of stuff, and you're Catholic, and I go to church, or you must be a right winger or whatever. I'm actually not. I'm actually like, if there was a party that wasn't crazy on the left, like I'm not talking. I don't like socialism, like because of the history of socialism. But I think there's a void on the left of a decent voice, and the right is filled with egotistical maniacs.
Very big time.
It's like, anyway, but what was I talking about? Oh, man, I went off topic. Oh, Instagram. Instagram. So Instagram is about shameless self-promotion.
For a lot of the people on there, it is. I see some of the posts by some of these people, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, how could you live with yourself, posting that stuff like that?
That's what it is. It's like,
But-
I'm getting after it today. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to make it happen today. And hashtag blessed, hashtag this. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa, dude.
Yeah, I know. So and it's been a struggle for me to navigate it. You know what I mean?
You can't. Because it's repulsive to you.
But I don't want to fight it either, because I know I have to do it to promote my music.
You know what you should
it's
do?
the engine to promote.
You
your
should
music
hook up
these
with a
days.
buddy where you promote his music and he promotes yours.
Well, it happens. It does happen where
Does
there's
it,
that
yeah?
cross promotion. Is like somebody's like sharing this and somebody's sharing that and all that kind of stuff. And when I go
But
on
the people with the
Instagram,
followers are people that are like Gary V.
Gary V.
It's like I can't
follow
listen to that guy anymore.
Yeah, it's just he's in your face about this is how you should live your life and this is what you need to do. Blah 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 blah. And but there's so many people are attached to that rhetoric.
Like, why do you
know what I
need
mean?
this guy to tell you every morning to get out of bed?
And tell you how to live your life.
Yeah.
Live your life on your own terms.
Yeah.
Now,
what do you need Gary V? I mean, like, look, I like Gary. Like, at the end of the day, I actually respect the guy.
I respect the guy too. He's done very, very well for himself. He's got all. But I go on my Instagram, and I love all my musician friends who are posting stuff because it's real, like a little video from their performing live. It's just a bunch of guys. And I look at they might have 380 followers, 225 followers here. And then Gary V's got like how many millions of followers? That's how you have to be to get people following you.
Got to be telling them what to do or something.
You know what I mean? So that's obviously part of his makeup. Yeah, he's an authentic.
He's a business guy. He's telling people. But like, is that what you need? Some guy to spank you every morning?
Yeah.
Like basically, I don't know what the right word is here, but basically, I don't know, get you out of your ego every day or something?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, go to work, get up, work hard. Okay, yeah. Okay, buddy. That's good.
In his videos of people coming up to him on the street, asking him, like, I did this morning. Great, but you got to do that. You got to do that. Good for him. Good for him. You know, and you know, it's not what he's doing that blows my mind. It's the people who are following him with like such deep admiration and respect to him. Not admiration, not respect is the word, but like they're waiting on it every bated breath that he
You know what's interesting about admiration? It's interesting. We don't have a word for it in English, but and I'll kind of get around. I'm kind of a weird talker, but admiration and envy are very similar.
They can be.
They're almost indistinguishable.
Yeah.
You'd have to see the heart of the person
to see what they're after,
what they really feel.
Oh yeah,
it's envy or whether it's admiration.
Come across a few of those people in my lifetime. I'm sure we all have.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You know, so and there's a word in German called Schadenfreude.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so Schadenfreude is the type of envy that is when everybody felt about, not everybody, but many people felt when Tiger Woods had his crash landing with his wife and all the golf cart and all that. They're like kind of, you could see it at the smirk on so many people's faces.
Like, he deserved that.
Yeah, that jerk. He's so good at golf. What a dick. You know what I mean? But they're like, Tiger Woods and his wife are getting a divorce, but you can see the envy just oozing out of them and the Schadenfreude just oozing out of them. You know, it's like, haha, now you crash, eh?
Yeah.
So
people love that. People want to see fall.
Yes.
People love seeing people falling from their pedestal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think they want to push them off the pedestal.
Or push them off their pedestal.
That's very horrible, man.
It's a very horrible way to see people and to live, because if you're living your life that way, waiting for that to happen and hoping it happens to somebody, then what does it say about yourself?
Sure.
What does it say about your own dreams? What does it say about your own thoughts and ideas of how people are supposed to be? When the reality is that, you know, if you take Tiger Woods as an example, he was given a God-given talent that
and he worked his butt off.
Worked his ass off to get where he was.
Sure.
Can't take that away. Just because he was talented wouldn't have put him where he was. He had to work his butt off to get there, you know, and people want to see somebody like that, especially with his, you know, with his persona along with that as well. You know what I mean? Because he was so, you know, he was a very cold guy. Just, he's ruthless, a ruthless winner, ruthless winner. But that's part of his makeup. That's part of who he is. I'm not going to take that away from him.
And that's what you need in that environment, dude.
You know what I mean?
Killer instinct.
Yeah. And for everything that did happen to him, rightly or wrong, is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? Is he a, you know, is he a bad husband? Is he a bad this? Whatever. People just, they wanted to just like,
rip him up
and watch him fall.
Yeah. It's interesting because how people are just so I don't know what it is. They're it's
like the human word, you know, we're interested in the human condition, humans, because we are human.
Sure.
So it's like, how did that happen to him? How did somebody who had it all just let it all fall apart?
Because you can't have it all.
Nobody can have it all.
You can only have it all from other people's perspective.
That's a great way of, for sure. It's a great way of seeing it.
Everybody, you scratch on this podcast, I'll tell you this, you scratch anybody's surface a little bit, and you'll find pain and anxiety and tragedy.
Yeah.
And, you know, but you don't have to go very far. Now, this conversation was obviously themed, but if I started talking to you about your personal life, which you may not want on the internet, let's face it, but like if I started scratching the surface of your personal life, there's going to be tons of pain and anguish. And
there's mental illness issues. There's all kinds of those things.
Sure.
But, you know, the next person who's in here doing the podcast would have the same, as you say, we all have that below our surface. And that's part of being human. It's part of the human condition. And I think being human is...
And I think that's what music is about.
Absolutely. You know, my latest project, not the latest album I've released. I'm working on an EP right now. Really, it's probably the best thing I've done as far as like how I sound. But the themes I'm talking about are things that are really, really dark for me. You know what I mean? There's a song about my mother's depression. There's a song about my dad being on the road, just wanting to get away. There's a song on there about, exploring my youth, you know what I mean, where I grew up. And there's a song on there questioning everything, questioning what's going on around us, questioning not even God, but just the whole spirit of the universe and stuff like that. So it touches on things, and I've written songs about my own personal struggles. And those are sometimes the best pieces of work. And for me, sometimes the hardest ones to put out there too, because it's like, I'm tearing off a little bit of this, and it's like, there it is for the world to see.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so.
That's a tough part about being an artist. It's like asking someone to read your poetry.
Yeah. It's like asking somebody to, it's like, asking somebody to read part of your heart that is there, but at the same time, isn't that what connects us?
Sure.
If I put that out there, maybe somebody else will be able to go, oh yeah, I can kind of understand where this is coming from, and it kind of relates to me too. It might not garner massive consumer consumption.
Sure. What do you want from your music? Like, what do you want it to do?
I want my music to be, I love performing as much as I love writing and recording. I love performing. And I want my music to be out there for people to, when they listen to me perform, to enjoy themselves, maybe to escape for a couple of hours, go to a place where they don't have to think about their crap day, or because I think as a live performer, I give off that because I really love to perform, and I show that in how I play. It's not about the perfection of the music or this or that. It's just, look at these guys up there. They love this, and they're working hard at it.
You can feel that.
You can feel that when you see a performer play.
You know what's weird? I felt that. You know who I felt? You know what's the weirdest thing? You know who I felt that from? You might laugh, or you might agree. I don't know how you're gonna take this one. So, my wife and I went to Las Vegas.
Okay.
And I was like, I want to see Celine Dion. So I went to see Celine Dion. And dude, she was up on that stage, and she was saying to the crowd, we're very grateful for you guys to be here. And she was looking at her singers. And I wasn't, when I was watching, I fell asleep after, but
There's a great advertisement for the Celine Dion tour, which is coming up. I fell asleep halfway through.
I didn't catch. I'm sure she sung the song from Titanic, but I didn't hear it.
I was sleeping.
But anyway, I think, what's interesting? She was speaking as much to the audience as she was to the other performers in a way.
Right.
Because think about it, she does it 4 days a week or 5 days a week, dude.
It's a heavy-duty gig, man.
Like you got, whatever, people paying $200 a ticket US or whatever. I can't remember I remember looking at it going, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, they're big bucks there, buddy. And
Big bucks.
I felt like she was telling, as much as she was telling the crowd it, I felt like she was reminding her employees, basically, or the people performing with her. You bet your chins up. These people paid a lot of money to be here. Make sure you put your best foot forward here.
Totally.
We're extremely grateful for you. And I could actually feel it resonating from her.
Oh, when I play, I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to give.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
going to give a lot of love. The guys in my band are going to give because we've practiced, we're going to give.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
I'm hoping I get something back. And if you give something back in the audience, and we're just going to give more. But
there's definitely, that's interesting. Another component, you do a lot of live gigs. I think.
Yeah, I play quite often. Yeah,
right.
At least once a week.
So it's actually a dynamic between the audience and the performer.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's why you love it, because when the dynamic is there, when there's a feedback that's happening back, I don't know what the right word is.
Yeah, I call it the love or the feedback or the vibe, the energy in the room, the energy between the humans in a room. When that is really positive, because we're going to bring that positive energy, and when you get it back, which more often than not you do, if you're going to give it out, it's a beautiful thing. It can be a very nice environment to play music, and I'm just hoping that the music I put on record resonates in that way as well. I'm still growing as an artist, and my music, I just want to continue to grow. You know what I mean? I just want to continue to grow and continue to write and continue doing this crazy thing called making art. and creating something for nothing. And no one's going to stop me from doing it because I'm living my life. And
Because you live in Canada, which is a free country.
yeah, and so, and enjoy it and enjoy it for what it is. And yeah.
We spoke for an hour and 15 minutes. Can you believe it?
No, it's been a good conversation.
It has,
from
man. I really appreciate
music and life and
yeah, we went down a couple of rabbit holes. Where can people find your music if they're listening to this?
yeah, www.craigrobertsonmusic.com, and you can link up to all my social media pages. You'll see some videos and hear my tunes and all that kind
And
of
Craig
stuff.
is C-R-A-I-G Robertson.
C-R-A-I-G Robertson Music, craigrobertsonmusic.com.
Craig Robertson, thank you for being a guest on the Gutter Grip on Life podcast.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, no
Been a
problem.
pleasure. Yeah.
Fun as heck. Craig Robertson, folks. His new album is called Late Mornings. He looks just like Kenny Rogers, man. Do you sing that song when you do covers? Oh, you don't do covers, that's right. You do some covers, I guess, eh? Drunk in Vegas, Holly Goes Raining, So Long Gone, Feel So Bad, Decker Hollow, You Never Meet Me in the Morning. That's an interesting name to a song. Past Due, Box Full of Motel Keys. That's a good one, but they don't have motel. Are you talking about legit keys here, Craig? Are we talking about those little cards that you get at the hotels now? I wonder. Cheap Old Watch. That's Why I Went to London. Sunshine on You and Late on the Rant. Actually, the last time I had a motel key was probably 25 years ago, Craig. And man, that was a cheap motel in Windsor. I was selling coupons. That's a whole other story. But man, it looks good. I'm going to listen to these albums. And Craig, we had a great time talking to you, man. What a deep guy, man. You definitely have roots in the culture here in Canada. And yeah, thanks for coming to the studio and talking. It's always better in studio. Something to get the vibe going. So I had a lot of fun talking to you, man. And so I really feel like, that the lack of new sound, new music out there is really a reflection of the emptiness of our culture, and is really a symptom of what people talk about. It's sort of like the proof that people are not happy today, or there's something wrong today, or something like that. It's the proof or something. And so I'd like to see more live music, and I love to support live music, particularly original songs. And there's nothing wrong with covers, man. I love to go see covers too. I like to just see more live music, period. And I think if we had more live music, if there was an area in Toronto that was dead, that's what we really need, is like a hub, like a geographical, physical hub. Because, you go to the Hughes Room, or you go to the El Macombo, and you got to take a cab from one to the other, or Uber from one to the other, and they're far apart. It's almost like it would be nice if there was a strip of an area in Toronto which had a ton of music bars in it. That's kind of what you need. It's like you need a hub like Yorkville was in the 60s or whatever. That's what you need. It's like an area where people can just go and there's guaranteed live music every night. So whatever, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night or whatever. That would be the way to solve the problem, but I don't know if it's going to happen. There's a Chinatown. So there's a Greek town. There's a Little Italy. Maybe there can be a music place, a music town in Toronto, if you want to be a musical city. The problem is, like, can you mix all the different types of music together? That would be the problem. So you get a hip-hop bar next to a rock and roll bar. I don't know if that would happen. Oh. I don't know. If there's one place it could happen, it would be in the T.O, buddy. The 416, as Drakey always says. Drakey. Hey, Drake. Welcome to come to my studio. I don't think you will, but anyway, he's a superstar now. So thanks for listening, folks, to the Get a Grip on Life podcast. We appreciate you. Follow us on social media. I do my best, but I do my best to put up my guest stuff on social media. So hopefully my producer back there will put some of my own stuff out there as well. Stuff that I said. Come on, Scott. Thanks for listening, folks. I'm always grateful to you guys.